And so I got in touch with Uber immediately. I said, listen, call these people up. And the only way to communicate with Uber is through email, or on the app, they've got a little text email type of thing. And so I went to get in touch with them. And I sent them an email immediately. And I went back to where I dropped the other people off. This was all the way over at the University of Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they were going to be catching a flight later to San Diego. So I wanted to catch them before that. So I started driving around campus. I got in touch with Uber. For the next 3.5 hours, I was driving around that campus looking for those people. And I finally got to and the whole time I'm sending text to Uber. Well, in the video that I do, I go through and I read all the texts that I had written to them. And they responded one time about 20 minutes after. They said, we understand there's somebody, there's something going on. They started lecturing me about securing things in there, but you could tell it was a form letter.
Sure.
And by the time we got to the end, I ended up making a few turns when I was going out to look for them, and ended up coming back in, and there they were, right on the side of the road. So I asked them, I said, hey, do you have my guest book? And they go, no, we left it there, this and that. And I said, just check your bags. And they checked their bags, and sure enough, there it was. And I was so happy to see them. I was telling them how grateful I was for them, and that they were able to come back, because I thought that Uber should have gotten in touch with them. They go, nope. I said, check your phone. Just check for me to make sure that Uber never texted them, never called them, never emailed them. Over 3.5 hours of me texting them back and forth, asking them, please just call these people and tell them that they have my book. And they didn't do it. And so I was mad for a while, not outwardly, but
sure,
just
asking for much, and just a little bit of help.
Yeah,
something easy.
Right. So as overall, I love Uber and Lyft. They're both amazing, and I use them whenever I go places. So, but as a driver, they really mishandle the drivers. They mishandle them in a lot of different ways, and I try to document a lot of the things. There's a lot of guys that do YouTube videos about the different things that are going on, just trying to keep people up to date. But the biggest thing that they did was they lowered the amount that they paid the drivers by about 30%, and they raised their price so that people would tip less. And that started a couple of years ago, and now they run through the numbers. They try and get as many Uber drivers as they can. They just hope they'll last as long as they can, or they hope that they're going to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week to be able to make enough to.
Now, I thought on Uber you weren't one of them. It's okay to tip, and the other one it's not encouraged, right? So one, I thought Lyft or Uber, I can't remember which is which.
Right. So Lyft had tipping on the app, so it would come right up when you were done with the ride. Do you want to tip? You could tip or not tip, and then it would have amounts. And Uber said, no, we don't want to do that. So they asked us to discourage it, but they would allow people to collect cash tips. Well, Uber finally figured out that they should put it on there. And they put it on there about 2 years ago. But they don't let people know, and they don't make it easy for somebody to find tipping. At the end of your ride, there will be a little tiny box there that says, do you want to tip? Or there'll be a place to leave tips. And you can sometimes go back in after the ride is over into the app, and you can tip the driver, but they make it very, very difficult. So that's one of the other things that drivers complain a lot about. Now, I try and keep it tongue-in-cheek, because it's it really is. It's an amazing program, but for the guys that drive, there needs to be either a higher percentage of the money that they're bringing in, or they need to raise the price. And the price to take an Uber is very, very inexpensive compared to taking a cab.
Is it? I always thought Ubers were marginally more expensive than a taxi.
No, they've never.
Although I'm comparing it to, so I have to say most of the Ubers I've taken in my life have not been in the suburbs. They've been in New York or DC or whatever. So I guess I don't know what the rate of a taxi is in Anne Arundel County. So.
Yeah. Well, in looking at what they do in Washington is they've got this. They still do by zones.
Mm-hmm.
So you got $8.50 or $12 or whatever it is based on what zone you go to, and that's probably a pretty good system. But when they're doing by mileage, most of the taxis that are outside of those zone areas are at $2.50, right around plus a time thing that goes on with that. So whereas Uber, when they first started, was $1.25 a mile. Now I don't know what they're charging for it, but the drivers only make 92 cents a mile. So when you figure if you take a 30-mile trip, the driver's going to get 26 bucks. That's, you know, a taxi cab would charge about 80.
Yeah, that's true. Huh. That's interesting.
But it's fun and it's not hard, and you can do it when you want. You don't have any set hours, and there's a lot of upside to it. But I think that the fun part for me is that I get to meet a lot of different people. I am turning right up here, right? Yeah. Get to meet a lot of different people. So, you know, I had guys that are in here that were all helicopter fighter pilots in the Iraq War.
That's interesting.
These guys were, they were the you know, the, what are they called? Apache pilots, and I've had fighter pilots in the Navy, and you know, in Annapolis you meet a lot of guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Met some admirals and all kinds of people. Driven some senators and all different types. You know what I found though? This is the most important takeaway for me. Is it doesn't matter where I go. Every day I start off, I end up in Baltimore or Washington. And it doesn't matter where I go to pick somebody up or drop somebody off. We are all very, very similar. We all want the same things in life. We want to find love. We want to have a safe place to live. We want to have, you know, a good job. We're very similar. And when people get in, they've got their guard lowered, and they just talk about, you know, people things, human things.
Yep.
And it's awesome. It is really awesome. And it doesn't matter whether it's inner city, bad sections of Baltimore, or the suburbs of Severna Park.
I guess it can make you optimistic about humanity, which is not always easy. So we're going to this Patriot Auto Service here, on the left.
Yeah, and I'm pretty optimistic anyway. I'm kind of a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah, well.
But Brian, it was a pleasure to meet you.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much for playing along and being on my live stream.
Managed to successfully make you talk the entire time, and I didn't say anything.
Well, you gave me that heads up in the beginning,
very pleased,
and I'm very good at it.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'll make sure to give you a tip since I know I can do that now.
I appreciate that.
You.
Appreciate it.
Have
All right. Have a good one. Well, there you go. Me running my mouth too much again. All right, come on, complete the trip. It's making me crazy, making me crazy. All right, look, see? So I gotta give him 5 stars, and then I hit that, slide it, say watch. Nothing. Unbelievable. Wow. Okay, let's try again. There it is. It came up. Let's see if that's the right trip. And it is. All right. So,